Hey guys, I want to show you how to winterize an inboard motor on a boat without taking to the shop and paying hundreds of dollars. I've been doing this for about 20 years. It's a great system, and basically what it involves is putting antifreeze through the engine, not trying to drain the water out and let it sit for the winter, because that's a risk. So what I start with is typical car antifreeze like this, and I mix up 4 jugs. And I get the stuff at Walmart that is must-add water so that I can actually make it a little bit stronger, more like 60-40. And you'll see my machine that I've made here out of a paint bucket. Got this one at Ace Hardware, you can get them anywhere. Simply drill a hole in the bottom. You see how I've attached a hose there with a valve. That's a little fitting. It's got just a normal garden hose that runs down. Yep, just a short little garden hose there. And then up on the inside you can see it goes through there. So when we fill that with liquid, it's going to go down through the hose. So that's something you can build very simply and use year after year. I don't think I need to go into too much detail about that. A little bit of a Rubbermaid, plastic, something like that that's going to be under the engine. Well, not the engine, more the outdrive, I should say. And then we're going to start off with our normal muffs and our normal garden hose, because the first thing we're going to do is get the engine up to operating temperature. So we're actually going to use just the regular water to start with before we do the winterizing. So basically we've got our 4 gallons of antifreeze, we've got our muffs hooked up, we've got our machine that we've designed there with the bucket, and that bucket thing you can make very simply. So let's get started. Okay guys, next thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we have water flowing to those muffs. Okay, turn that on first. Don't ever start your engine without the water supply hooked up. Put the muffs on the lower unit. Now we know. Now it's okay to start the boat. So you can watch me struggle with my 354 barrel here. First start of the day takes a couple extra seconds. But we want to get the boat up to an operating temperature where the engine's running smooth. Just going to be feeding in antifreeze. So here we go. Let's just, let the engine idle up here for a little bit. I like to let it run for a good 5 or 10 minutes on the muffs. Hey guys, now's a good time just to look and make sure your engine is pumping plenty of water out. One variation to this, you can take the propeller off if it makes you feel better. I'm not really working around the propeller, I'm really just looking at it, and anytime I'm going to be over there, the engine's going to be turned off. Good time to line up your Rubbermaids, they're going to be catching the antifreeze. Hey guys, the next part is pretty easy. All I'm doing is I'm putting fresh water in my bucket contraption there, the one I showed you how to build, and I'm just opening and closing the valve, just kind of making sure nothing's blocking it, making sure that we've got a nice flow, because we're going to be using this for antifreeze, so just make sure that's working properly. Okay guys, we're close to getting this show on the road. Mount your bucket somewhere high on your boat, and then hook the muffs to the garden hose attachment from the bucket. We're going to be running the antifreeze into the engine through the outdrive, just as if you were driving in the lake. Okay, so now I filled the bucket with a couple gallons of antifreeze. Okay, the engine is not running yet. And now I'm going to open the valve, so it's going to run down the hose into those muffs. Now I'm going to go start the engine on the boat, and I'm going to start feeding that antifreeze in. If you have a friend and you want them to control your controls there, start it and stop the engine, that's great. I'm now feeding a little more antifreeze in to keep that hole covered. You want to shut the engine off as soon as the bucket goes dry.
So that's it, you just put the antifreeze in here and it...
Now, yep. You can see how the antifreeze now is getting collected in the Rubbermaids that we have under the engine.
Round number 2. I'm going to narrate this video.
I'm gonna make an air race. Yeah, I'm making a YouTube video. Might as well. How to winterize your boat cheap.
Okay guys, so I like to do that about 4 times. Run the antifreeze through the engine, shut it off, run it through, shut it off, about 4 times. And what I do is I lift those Rubbermaids back up to the bucket and refill it with whatever I caught from the engine. And then the final 4th run through, I usually put another half gallon of my mixed antifreeze into the bucket along with what I captured from the Rubbermaids. Do that 4 times and you're in good shape. And this is the final step to supercharge your system. Whether you're a 4-cylinder or 8-cylinder, find the hoses for your thermostat and your manifolds there. And we're going to pour antifreeze directly straight into those, even though we've already run the antifreeze through the engine 4 times. It just gives a final supercharge to the engine. So we've got our mixed antifreeze 60-40. I'm going to take a funnel and I'm going to run it through all 4 of these hoses. You are going to hear it running out. It's going to run out on the ground because it's going to go through the manifolds and come out the back of the engine. This is the final step to supercharge your system to make sure you don't ruin this engine for the winter. So basically all you're seeing here at the end of the video, I'm hooking up my funnel to those hoses. I've taken them off gently. You know, be gentle. You don't want to poke holes in them with a screwdriver or anything. And I'm just pouring my 60-40 mix of antifreeze directly into them. It's just getting extra antifreeze to just kind of sit there in the manifolds and to sit there in the engine itself. So we've done a 4-time run through with the antifreeze through the actual running of the engine. And now we're doing the final putting the antifreeze through. And then I've just reconnected all the hoses. And basically now I know that this engine is going to take the winter freeze, and in the summer I'll be able to fire it up and I'll have an engine that's not ruined. I've been doing this for a long time. It works very good. Works for 4 cylinders. I've done 8 cylinders, 6 cylinders. The concept is simple. Just get antifreeze into that engine.